Hi there, this is Talia the Dietitian, and today I'm doing something a little different. I want to talk about my intuitive eating journey because I know a lot of parents and mums, particularly, want to know more about how they can eat intuitively. And I've done a couple of videos already about intuitive eating, but I wanted to talk about this from my perspective as a parent. So, I've been a dietitian for got almost 8 years now, and I can say that I've always loved food and I've always enjoyed eating food and cooking food, but I haven't always been an intuitive eater. And that's really something that I've become a lot more attuned with since having children. And the reason being, previously, before kids, I loved eating. I would go out to eat. I would definitely enjoy and savor foods, but I would still eat mindlessly sometimes. I love to snack on chocolate. I love to snack on lots of things. So even though I may be very present while I'm eating those things, I know looking back that that wasn't really very intuitive. And there's nothing wrong with that. We're not perfect all the time. But on this journey, after I had my first baby, I found that I was eating even less intuitively, that I would eat with my daughter, but I'd be more concerned about what she was eating, or I'd have to get up and get her more things. So I could never really sit and actually enjoy a meal. Sometimes we would go out for a meal and I would sit there and I would eat and I would give her food and we'd be like talking about stuff. But then at the end of the meal, when we were driving home, I'd be thinking to myself, gee, I didn't even really taste the food that I ate. Like, I know it was delicious, but I didn't really taste it. Because it's very easy to get distracted when you have kids. You've got other people you've got another person who's depending on you, who's asking you for things. Something got dropped on the floor, someone was yelling about something. It's very easy to get distracted. And I'd love to know from you in the comments. Let me know. Have you felt this way as well, that you can be at a meal and you know you're there, you know you're eating it, but then afterwards you're like, what did I even eat? I don't even really remember what it tasted like, or I didn't even feel like I enjoyed it. And that can be really disappointing, especially when previously going out to eat was generally quite lovely and enjoyable. And now when you have a child, it seems like it's even more difficult. So flash forward a little bit, I had my second baby, and I had diagnosed postpartum depression and anxiety the second time around, which turns out I had that with my first, but nobody had diagnosed it. So I've started receiving help for this, and there was a lot of, talk about, mindfulness in life and being present. And so I started to apply some of these things, some of these concepts of cognitive behavioral therapy to eating, and figuring out how I could become a more intuitive eater. Even though in terms of nutrition and dietetics, I know all the things. I know all the things that I need to eat. I know all the things that I need to feed my kids. And from that side of things, that I think a lot of people know that, even at some basic level. And it's the intuitive part, it's the being present part that we really struggle with. So I want to share, what have I done since having my second kid that has really helped me be present. I actually had the issue where I could not keep weight on after my second baby was born, which was actually a very stressful experience. Especially, I was breastfeeding and I was very concerned that my inability to keep weight on meant that I was missing out on nutrients that were important for me and for the baby. And this was a big source of stress and anxiety for me. And I really had to work hard on making sure I was eating enough, which I know parents, we all come from different areas, and this may not be true for you. Maybe you can relate to it in a different way. But it can be very stressful after having a child, no matter what your weight situation is, whether it's that you're trying to lose weight or trying to gain it. It's still stressful either way. And so what I really started to focus on was eating regular meals and at regular meal times. With my daughters, that's the one thing about having kids that's really helpful, is that you're forced to feed them regularly. So at those times, you need to make yourself something as well, even if it's something small. Go back to that body check-in. Are you feeling hungry? Are you not feeling hungry? How long was it since you ate last? If you found that it was a couple of hours since you've eaten, but you're not feeling hungry, you probably would like to make a little snack for yourself. Make yourself something that your kid is eating as well. I have some videos about mini meals and some of the things that you can create for your child, and those are the same nutritious things that you need to be feeding yourself. You're modeling that behavior to your kids. But anyway, back to being mindful about this. Sitting and eating at those regular meal times helps you break up the day, making sure that you are eating regularly, that you're not skipping meals, and that you're also not just eating all day long, because that's mindless rather than mindful. So sitting and eating, talking to your child, even if they're a baby and they don't understand everything you're saying, telling them about the texture of food that you're eating or how you prepared it and what it tastes like. It's very sweet, it's very salty, it's very savory, it's very crunchy, whatever it is, but having that conversation makes you present with what's actually going on and what you're tasting in your mouth, and then verbalizing it to your child, which is beneficial for them because it's additional vocabulary. So that's one way. And another thing that I have found is that if I'm reaching for something in between meals, I do stop and take that check-in with myself. Why am I going for this food? And if I really want this food and my body is saying that it's hungry, even if it's a food that isn't, quote, healthy, I'll stop and try to sit down and take a moment to enjoy whatever it is so that I can be fully present and really enjoy the food that it is that I'm eating. Let's say it's a piece of chocolate. I try to let it melt in my mouth so that I can really have an experience. What does this taste like? It's dark, it's sweet, it melts, it's taking a long time to melt. All of these kinds of things are very bringing you back to the present moment rather than just like stuffing it in, gobbling it down and chewing it up and just going on to the next thing. Spending that little bit of extra time to be really present with your food makes a really, really big difference. And I have found that those collectively, those things can really help. There are still times where we're out at a restaurant or we're having a nice family dinner. It is really nice, but there's still a lot of getting up and, you might not feel like you've been entirely present at that meal, but you know that you have had those moments in there where you have stopped to really chew your food, or you've taken a minute just to yourself. And that is really helpful. And intuitive eating never looks perfect. And even if you get to the end of a meal and you're like, I don't even know what I ate, and I know it was nice, but I don't really feel like I was very present with it. Taking the time to acknowledge that, and not even that you're going to do better next time, because I don't want you to get into a cycle of like, oh, I did this and it was terrible, I'll do better next time, and then let's say next time happens the same thing, and at the end of it you just beat yourself down. That's not the goal here either. The goal is to try and carve out a minute or 10 seconds where you are really present, you can really taste it, and you can reflect on that afterwards. I still felt a bit rushed, but I do know that I enjoyed that meal, and next time I'll try, maybe instead of one time in the meal, every time I put something else on my plate, or if I have to get up and get something more when I come and sit back down, I'll take a bite of food and I'll really be present. Maybe I'll close my eyes for a few seconds to really enjoy it. So I really hope those tips have helped you. If there's other tips that you have that you'd like to share, I'd love for you to put them in the comments so that I can read them and we can get a little bit of a dialogue going. And I hope you found this video helpful, and if you have, please subscribe to my channel and like this video. And if you have another mum friend who would benefit from this, please share it with them as well. So thank you so much for watching. This is Talia, the Dietitian. Bye-bye. If you have the time, here are a few more related videos that I've picked for you.